Good morning. Welcome to Pries Capital. You must be the new recruit.
Oh, is this the new recruit?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Follow me, Mr. Superstar. Here at Pries Capital, we love showcasing art. The stunning bronze dragon sculptured Pico by the renowned artist Nano Lopez is definitely a showstopper. And these pieces on the walls, the legendary Michael Godard is practically a rock star in the art world. There's art all over the office, creating a vibrant, creative atmosphere to work in and collaborate in. And here is Tyler Pries, our hardworking mortgage loan officer. If you're looking to purchase real estate in the Myrtle Beach area, Tyler's the guy to know.
Looks like you have your hands full. Ashlyn, can you grab a book for him? And I'll see you at the meeting.
And here's Raj, one of Jason's right-hand guys for commodities trading. Good morning, Raj.
Good morning.
Meet the new recruit.
Hi. Hope you like to work hard and play hard. This is a high-stakes environment. Split-second decisions can make or break an opportunity. Welcome to the firm.
Don't worry about Raj. He's a quiet powerhouse, but he's critical to everything we do here. And here's the founder and real estate powerhouse herself, Tina Pries.
Good morning. How are you? So glad to have you with us. Can't wait to see you in action. We're just about ready to start the meeting for Jason's market analysis. I will see you both in the conference room.
Good morning, Jason. This is the new recruit.
Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Your skill set is exactly what we need. I love people dedicated to their craft. But hey, I got to get ready for this morning's analysis, so I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Jason. You're awesome. Right here, we have one of our many conference rooms. And down the hallway over here, we have the intelligent and sharp-eyed Miss Jill.
Why, thank you, Ashlyn. Nice to meet you.
Jill thrives in the world of spreadsheets, balance sheets, and financial forecasts.
You'll fit right in, so go check out your new office.
And here's your new office. And over here, we have some welcome goodies for you. Just a small thank you of saying welcome to the family. Okay, so I've got to get ready for the meeting, but check out the gym over here, grab some coffee and bagels in this room to the right, then I'll meet you in the conference room.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, take a seat. Welcome back to another morning market analysis. Let's get comfortable and dive in.
This rotating strategy could print money on Tuesday. Did you catch that slow grinder higher yesterday? I hope you did, because when you combine that price action with the overlapping range forming an overnight session, today sets up beautifully for a market that pays traders who understand how to work both sides of a neutral tape. Buyers are trying to grab back control, but the sellers aren't done either. In this kind of environment, patience and precision become your edge, and today's structure gives us exactly that. Good morning and welcome back to another Team Day Trader edition of the Daily Market Analysis. Settle in, grab your coffee, and as always, take a moment to subscribe and explore the resources linked in the description below. As of 7 o'clock, when I wrote this, futures were down 2.5 points. We are now up 5, give or take. You know, she's moving. So 5 points. When I wrote it, also, we hit a mild negative 1.64 net short overnight skew. We are opening in balance. We'll look at that. And the 10-day ATR is sitting around 114 points, which means we have a wide canvas to work with. We are neutral as far as on the short term. I'm bearish on the long-term bias, but neutral in the short term. Right, I always distinctively make those clear. We have 3 ranges, which we'll look at layered on top of each other. And yeah, we're looking at day trade type 6, or I'm looking at, I shouldn't say we. Right, my trade plan begins with day trade setup type 6, and then I will be looking at, as the day progresses, does day trade setup 5 play out, or is it just staying in 6 for the most of the day? And again, we're trading the rotating right range. That's what we'll look at today. So with that said, a couple just to highlight, right? A couple key levels to watch. All right, that's not it. Why aren't my markers working? That's not it. What do we gotta do? Quit this? Let me open back up my markers. Jesus. Do they work now? There we go. You gotta love software. All right. Key levels to watch. We are gonna watch this 67.43.5. I'll show you why that's such an important level in today's trading. We will watch to see if buyers do get up to 67.91. That's going to be where, right, things that I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, this would be where I'm targeting. Right, but as of right now, I am under the impression of a rotating / grinding market. Neutral is the bias, and I'll show you that, but we'll talk about if I'm wrong where this level comes into play, the 67.91. Right now I'm watching the 67.43.5, and again, as long as price holds below that 67.43.5, then sellers maintain that upper hand on the larger level, on the larger time frame, right, the hourly chart. So below on an intraday level, this below 66.88 becomes highly important for a reaction for an intraday shift in momentum. So with that said, let's shrink this back down. We did get the PPI. What do we got for PPI? We had retail sales come out. PPI final demand year over year 2.7%, expected 2.7. So nothing really there. And retail sales X auto, that's month over month. I want year over year. I don't want month over month. Month over month. Where is it at? No. 0.1%, so 0.1%. Previous was 0.7%. There was a revision of 0.6. So, yeah. Again, I think that kind of discusses and talks about that still that growth a little slowing on that U.S. retails. You know, previous was 0.7%, and then was 0.1. Is that month over month though? No, it's not. That's year over year. Okay. Month over month, it was retail sales X autos was 0.3. Expected was 0.3. So, but again, that PPI, that's kind of the bigger number I was looking for. And again, that was 0.3%. And again, expected 0.3%. So it doesn't look like it's market moving. Came in line. So nothing that spooks the market as I'm looking at the charts. So with that said, I don't have really anything else to really talk about on this. I want to get into the Fed watch tool real quick before we get into the charts. And again, this went from a month ago, 91.7% to basically 50-50 to basically back to, right, 80%. So, right, we went from huge hike or a huge probability of a hike to, maybe there's not going to be a hike, and went back to 50-50, and then now back to, right, high probability of a hike. We'll be watching this, right, come 1st of December as we get closer and closer. This, the problem is there's not a lot of data that's going to come on out. So, watching this unfold, we're not going to get the next iteration of non-farm payrolls until after the rate decision. So again, we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm watching this carefully as the back and forth plays out, and again adjusting to the portfolio. The one thing I am watching, and again when I'm thinking, this is not so much on a day trade, I just look at this just kind of keep I always think of day trading is keeping your pencil sharp or your skill set sharp when you're building out your long-term portfolio. I consider this like our legacy portfolio. Again, portfolio construction for not just your retirement, but when you're thinking of 100 years, how would you build a portfolio 100 years? Usually that's 2 to 3 generations. I know that's a little bit different than what most people, when you think of your 401k, your financial advisor, they kind of talk to you in a relative form of, hey, your retirement is your living life. And I kind of think about that a little bit grander in scale. So not just my living life, but how would you build a portfolio that lives past your living life? And again, 2-3 generations. Not only portfolio construction, but also bringing up the knowledge base in your children, so that they don't inherit this wealth and piss it away. We all know stories where children inherit the money, and the money within a few years gets disintegrated. So there's 2-factor in legacy building. But anyways, that's no here nor there. You're not here to we're not here to build a portfolio for 100 years. We're here to day trade the markets. The one thing I do like watching, though, and again, is just this probabilities, rate cuts. Looks like we got one. That's going to be, whether it is on December, but if it is, no matter what, this December, or we had talked about where there's going to be one in the first quarter of 2026. So there is one. But then this has changed where now we got 2, 3, and again 4. And watching this, because there was just 3, there was one in the fourth quarter / first quarter of 2026, and then there was one that was looking at in the summer, and then this was really one cut going all the way into 2027. That has shifted where we're getting this extra cut built into the probability. So watching that as time goes on, does this shift back over, And we're going to get a lot of information from the SEP, coming out. So I'll be watching, what the Fed is thinking, forward guidance. But 84.7% as of the, betting markets, I kind of say, probability of the Fed cutting in December. So with that said, let's get into the charts. Today is a shortened holiday week, We talked about this on Friday. I don't do these on Mondays for you guys. We do like a kind of weekly market analysis. So I don't really see reiterating things that I talk about on Saturday and Sunday on Monday. So again, here we are Tuesday. And again, I won't be here tomorrow, It is a holiday week. I'm not trading tomorrow. Taking Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off. So I guess just to give you a heads up, don't come here at 8:30. There won't be a live morning market analysis. So get that out of the way. I almost forgot to say that to you guys. But one thing I do want to bring up is this monthly bar. And again, because this is really the last trading session for the month, for me, for the month of November, And then by next time I see you guys, this will be December. The thing that I'm watching is how this monthly bar closes. Do we get a strong wick on here? This is important to me as I think about how December is going to play out. And again, I'm thinking like, all right, this week, right, holiday week, yada yada. Even though there was this undercut of last month's candlestick, it was a shallow, it was more like just a pierce through. And then it looks like we're gonna close in and around where we opened in the month of October, right? So this to me is a little weak by the sellers. So I'm watching this carefully. So again, I'm not gonna see you guys basically from a week from today. I am just pointing this out that this is gonna be an important telltale kind of going into December is how does this, candle close? We got tomorrow and you got half day on Friday and that's it. So how does this close? Now, when we're thinking about the weekly chart, right? We talked about this again on Friday, this inside bar. So on this week, I was really thinking that we were just going to be in an inside bar for last week, and that's so far playing out. And I think as I make an argument as we day trade into today, right, that leaves only Wednesday and Friday, half day on Friday, to trade. I believe this will play out as my thesis ends up being correct, where this week ends up being an inside week. So then, as we are thinking that through, how do we trade today? We are shoving right up against that 20-period moving average on a daily chart. So I do want to point that out. Is that resistance? Does it hold as resistance? And then let's move into chart, right? Our volume profile chart. This is going to be a little bit of that telltale more. And again, my argument is this is where that 67.4350 comes into play, this LVN, right? And then again, there is this high volume node, right, that comes into play as this just gets sucked back down into this 6670 area, and we back and fill some more of this chop. So yes, Friday had a nice push move up. Yesterday had a nice grinder move higher. And then we're sitting up here at, right, the highs of Friday. And again, that low volume node of 67.43.5 comes into play. Right, if this does not end up being day trade setup type 6, as we're looking for a trading rotation, right? And again, just back and forth and trade the rotation as price gets sucked back down into this 66.70, then this 67.43.5 becomes super important in the overall day trading, because then day trade setup 6 doesn't work and we get something like day trade setup 5 that comes into play as this gets pushed, and then right, we make a move to that Thursday high, right? We'll have to see how this plays up when it opens. I'm watching that carefully, right? But just the way that these ranges, if anything, gets, pulled back in a test. And again, I'm not under the impression just yet that the sellers are done. We are still making these lower lows on a higher time frame. Again, we're looking at an hourly chart. Higher, these lower lows and lower highs sequence as we come in. Now this, again, I'll say it again, 67.43.5 is going to be important in the grander scheme of things. With that said, let me move to this chart. I want to show you how I was looking at, like I said, there's these ranges that are playing out where we had this range down here in the beginning of the week, this third range, and then, right, we've been filling out this profile. This is a weekly profile, and again, starting from Sunday in the overnight, and we're building this. So again, this is the most recent or the developing node, volume node, high volume node. This is the recent, right? This is the developing. This is the most recent static node. And right, this is what we're watching for as price falls down into this. Now, this is where I'll talk about where this 66.88 and a quarter kind of comes into play, where if this is bullish, right, and we want to then trade to the buyer, trade the buy side, then this needs to, right, this is where 66.88 and a quarter kind of comes into play, where if it is bullish, this will be like a retest. So they broke out, pull back, retest, and then go. And the 88 and a quarter becomes super important in the intraday level. So on an intraday level, we're going to have that 67.43 and a half, and on the low side, we're going to have 66.88 and a quarter. And as this game in real time plays, that's what you're going to want to, if this happens, then what? So if this goes up into 67.43 and a half, do sellers or, do buyers, stop buying? Sellers kind of become a little initiative in the longer scope of things on the higher time frame. Do they interact in and around that price range? Watch for a 2-try reversal. Or do we get that into that 66.88 and a quarter, right? And then this is a breakout, pullback, retest, and right, you test previous trading range, and then the right buyers initiate and hold that pullback. Those are a couple things that we're going to be watching, or I'm watching. Now, if we move into the profile chart, just to kind of compare 1 week to another, right? This was last week's volume profile, and then this is this week's. And what do we notice is, right, one, we got these single prints, and again, the single prints lines up with that 88 and a quarter level, right? And so as price develops, does this hold in here, and then we come back down, and then again we get stuck in here in range as in today? Or, right, this ranges, it holds that 88 and a quarter, and it was a breakout, retest, and then go, and then right, we'll then look again 67.43 and a half, and does that become a level? This is really where I'm trading this. Again, I'm going to go back to, we'll talk about this in the trigger chart, is that day trade type 6, and then watching for that day trade type 5, as long as my analysis is correct. If we move to, I don't think we have anything else. There's nothing on the market profile chart. The only thing I might make a comment, and again, this is just yesterday's profile, right, is again these single prints, right? So we do got thin structure in and around, right, basically 66.96 to 66.88, give or take. There is some thin structure retracement that as price opens up, right, you get this move back down, and they hold that pullback, and it's a go. Or in real time, this pulls back, sellers kind of play around in here, you get a trap, and they take it back, and it gets squeezed back down into that 66.70 area like I had talked about, right? And this becomes a trap. Watch for that trap. That trap high, and then they suck it right back down underneath. Look for an ignition bar, and you get underneath that 66.88 and a quarter. So let's look at that now, going to the trigger chart. And we'll close it out here unless anybody's got questions. If you got questions in the chat, throw it in. I'll try, if I got time here, I'll look at them. Looking at the trigger chart, we know Thursday, great trading session. Hopefully people caught that. That was right on analysis. I love, this was just a perfect setup. And again, you're at the high end of the range going back in time. And right, they just sold it right off. And this kills people. And again, not understanding market context and tempo, usually these high, how do I want to say, the extreme moves, right? Everybody knows that most of the time the market is like in a normal variation day, and very, you know, what is it? I guess, let me look at my stats. So 9% of the time is a trend day, 61% of the time is normal variation. So again, 9% of the time being a trend day, right? In a trend day analysis, this doesn't happen very often. So most people aren't set up and ready for that kind of trade. And when it happens, they just get ruined. Because for the most part, again, 61% of the time is like this normal variation. 27% of the time is like this neutral day. So in a market context, these trend days don't happen that often. So your mind gets kind of taught to just trade these normal variation days. And then when these trend days happen, these strong trend days, they just wreck people's accounts. And I point that out because if you don't know how to, in real time, see that, you know what I mean? That'll just kill your account. I've seen it so many times where traders, new, old, however, been trading forever, been trading for a week, they don't understand that market context. They don't know how to visually see it in real time, and they get in, again, recency bias, where they just think like, oh, buy the dip or sell the rip. And, you know, you'll get a chance to like, oh, I'll just dollar cost average. And more than likely, it'll come at least where I can get out flat or a small loss. And then a trend day happens and they just get rocked. So I kind of went into a little rant on this, but it's important to hear that come from me and then realize like, yes, Jason, that's it. And then, you know, hopefully you take some work and then back test, you know, what things do I need to do to watch out for those trend days so I don't wreck the account. Now I see that those trend days that come out of nowhere wreck most people's account, because then they get in with 4 contracts, then 6 contracts, then 8 contracts, and all of a sudden you're like 20 contracts deep and it's just hemorrhaging your account, and you just blow it up. You know, you go from anyways, I'll stop with that. I'll just stop with that because that's not what today is. Today we're trading range. We're looking at, right, day trade type 6. So again, this trading range into play as we rotate from lows to highs to lows to highs. And then again, what I'm watching for is as this market trades day trade type 6, we get into day trade type 5. And I'm looking for, right, this to eventually break out. And what I'll be watching for is really this breakdown into this 66-70 range as this kind of falls apart throughout the day. Where I'm wrong, and again, where I'm wrong is this 67.43.5 as buyers come in, do they get up? And you'd have to get up and through 67.43, hold the pullback, and then go. Now that's you should be able to telltale that in the market internals and the tempo of the trade. So watching this very carefully, I'll be looking for if I'm wrong, right? Where's my risk? My risk is I'm wrong in this analysis, and that 67.43.5 becomes, right, buyers just take it up and then go. Now, if it's early on in the day, I possibly could take advantage, flip my bias, right? I don't hold these things in my head as hardcore bearish or hardcore bullish. I let the charts tell me, you know, where I'm right and where I'm wrong. And this would be where I'm wrong. And again, if I'm wrong, then if I got enough time in the day today and it happens quickly, so more, you know, sooner than later, I should be able to take advantage of this, recognize it, and then, right, take the long higher. That's not necessarily, again, I always talk to you guys about where am I wrong first, because I just think that's important. That's a good way to, you know, it's always how I look at the markets is, hey, I have this trade set up that I'm thinking about, and then great, but where am I wrong? So I'm always, where am I wrong first? And then, okay, knowing that, now how do I want to see this play out? So I'm going to want to see this play out as, right, we get I would love to see a trap. We'll see if we get the trap. If I don't, you know, there's two ways that this plays out. Is one, right, again, it's a 2-try reversal where we get to try once, twice, right, a little bit of a trap, and then, right, we come back down in. I'd like to get that trap high. We'll see if we get that trap high. I'm watching this overnight. So as we open up at 9:30, I'll be watching this, right, 67.31 3/4, and how close we get up here. Now, in this next half an hour, does this just kind of fall apart, right? And then we open up and we're down here. I don't know if we're going to get, right, this is 40 points. We're not going to get 40 points in the next half hour. So realistically, like, do we kind of come into this 67.10? And that's what I'll be watching for. And then does it kind of poke up, and is it, right, 1-try, 2-try trap, and this becomes a trap and back down. I'll be really watching that right off the open. So the open is going to really kind of, I'm going to watch that first 5-10 minutes of trade action and look for that trap. Does it give me that trap signal that I'm looking for? If I get the trap signal, then again, I'm watching as we rotate back down, and then as I talked about, that 66.88 becomes crucial, because do we kind of pause and range in here, maybe get a trap high, and then again we get sucked back down into the 66.70. So on a faster time frame, you know, that's kind of how I get this plays out. And then we just kind of, as the day progresses, it is Tuesday. I don't know how many people or traders or institutional market participants are really gonna, you know, be trading on Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving, right? There's, you know, most professionals, you know, we got vacation time, yada, yada, yada. I'm out of the office. So today is going to more than likely be the trade of the day. And then, you know, Wednesday, low volumes, could get volatile because of that low volumes. You might get some market participants come in, try to move the market because they know of low volume. So that's a, you know, that's a thing. I don't want to say it's not a thing. And I'm not going to be playing around with it. You know, I'm going to enjoy the family, enjoy the time with the folks, the kids, yada, yada. So, and friends, really, and the friends. So that's what I'm going to be focused on. We'll be here next week, right? It'll be a new month, December. So, you know, there's nothing of this has to be, hey, I got to get all of my year's winnings in today's trade. Today does have a good high probability of, again, day trade type 6. Watch this range. I'll be watching how this plays out down here. If the sellers can't get this sold and we can't get down into this 66.70, then again, trading this rotation will definitely be the trade, right? Where we just sell the highs, right? Take profits and then buy the lows and then come back in, and this day trade type 6 plays out, you know. And again, day trade type 6, moving into day trade type 5. It's 6 first. So I'm trading that first. I'm looking for rotation because this could easily just kind of rotate to the bottom and then rotate back up, get a trap high up at this 40, and then rotate back down, and then again end up being down here. So again, you have to watch this rotation. As it gets down in here, this is going to be crucial. 2-minute chart, 5-minute chart, and get that confirmation that they're making the leg earlier in the day, because this, again, we're trading the rotation first and then the trap second. So hopefully that helps you guys out. You guys know the levels, know where you're right, know where you're wrong. And yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out today. Watch that monthly candle bar on watch how this candle on, this is a weekly chart, but watch how that plays out on the week. Watch how that's going to close in the end of the month. And if we hang up and around this higher level in and around at the end of the month, that's going to be kind of bullish. And, more than likely we might get that Santa Claus rally for the month of December. If things fall apart as we get into the end of the month, which is really today, tomorrow, and Friday, and we're opening up down in this 66.25, that will look a little more bearish on the monthly bar, right? Forget about the weekly bar, and then, maybe we don't get that Santa Claus rally. But again, we're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday trading. There's 4 or 5 weeks in the month of December. And we're going to trade every day, one day at a time. And it's too early to make that decision just yet. Just like a weatherman, right? Try to get the weather guy to give you an accurate forecast for a month out. It's hard to do. But if he's, looking at the weather day in, day out on a daily, right, I can have a high probabilistic identification of how tomorrow's gonna be, whether that's in the weather and or in trading. So that's why we do this one day at a time. We keep our pencils sharp, we adjust our long-term portfolio accordingly, try not to get too hyper movements in the wiggles. But again, this is a keeping your pencil sharp trading is, and then adjusting for that long-term portfolio, the legacy portfolio. So that's it. Hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. And as always, learn, trade, profit. I'll see you guys on the other side.